Hello everybody, this is Godzilla 1991 here, and today/tonight, depending on what time it is when you're watching this video, I will be looking at the Bandai movie monster series Godzilla 2001, better known as GMK Goji, from Godzilla, Mothra and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack, or just simply GMK for short. Now this, along with King Goji, Mosa Goji, and Shodai Goji, is one of my top 10 favourite incarnations of the King of the Monsters, because not only does he look mean and intimidating, but as you can see, he's pure evil, because in the movie, he was possessed by the angry spirits of those who lost their lives during World War II. He really does have a haunted expression with those blank pale white eyes that we'll come back to later, and this Godzilla is a far cry from the heroic route of the 70s. The colour scheme isn't just a dark charcoal, but black as well, and the dorsal spines are pale white silver. Unfortunately, the tongue appears to be dark purple, where I believe it was a flesh red in the film, if my memory serves me correctly. I guess they thought that giving him a black mouth with only the teeth shown would make him a lot more scarier. However, that's the only downside, well, at least to this figure, and because this is a vinyl model, the teeth are painted on. Let's not talk about the feet, because goddamn those toe claws are pretty darn huge, much bigger than other Godzilla toes. They're basically the toe claws of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but on steroids, where on other Godzillas, the toe claws are either straight points, or in the case of Titanus Godzilla from the Monsterverse series, elephant-like. However, because GMK Goji was meant to be a demon, the toe claws were designed to be a lot more menacing than usual. But he wouldn't be the only Godzilla to have these type of toe claws, because Shin Godzilla also possessed these too. Taking a further look at the design of this Godzilla, with those razor sharp teeth and pale blank pupilless eyes, he does actually give me Don Bluth vibes, because he reminds me of the Tyrannosaurus, well, to be more accurate, Sharptooth, from the Land Before Time series. And I didn't really notice that until Allosaurus33, who's a friend I've made on YouTube, pointed this out, and I could totally see where he's coming from. So if Godzilla did appear in the Land Before Time, this is what he would probably look like, and for the fun of it, you could even call him Don Bluth Goji, or Bluth Goji for short. This is the third incarnation of the Millennium series, and as you can see, his design depicts him as a classic Godzilla, and on first sight you would probably mistake him for a Showa Godzilla, because I thought that's what he was at first, until I read up and found out that GMK actually premiered in 2001. This was in the early days when I was doing some research on the franchise, many years ago. And to be honest, I actually do prefer him over Maya Goji, aka Godzilla 2000. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like Maya Goji, but I do like the GMK Godzilla a lot more. So Millennium wise, Godzilla 2001 would be first, and 2004 Final Wars Godzilla, also known as Final Goji, would be second. Now for size comparisons, well, this is what he looks like with Varan, who was going to be in the movie, however he got swapped out with Ghidorah, and you could just imagine Godzilla easily overpowering poor Varan. This is what he looks like with the Raids Again Anguirus. I don't currently have the Final Wars incarnation of the character, but he too, like Varan, was going to be a Guardian originally, however was this time switched over in favour of Mothra, and here he is with someone who he did fight, that being of course Baragon. Wrong incarnation, but you get the idea. And all three original proposed Guardians have been covered and reviewed, links are in the description below, in case you're interested. I meant to bring out GMK Ghidorah, but I forgot. But perhaps we'll look at him another time. So what are my final thoughts on the Bandai movie monster series GMK Godzilla 2001? I really do like this figure, even though he's a 6-inch recreation of the old 8-inch model that was released many years ago. By the way, I'm not sure if this is true or not, or I'm overthinking this, but I don't think Bandai often represents this particular Godzilla, despite being one of the more popular incarnations of the King. Oh yes, he has been represented by other manufacturers and companies, such as X Plus, NECA, and Tamashii Nation's SH Monster Arts, etc. and so on. However, I do know that he's scheduled to appear in the Higher Toys series. In fact, when I did audio commentary for Kaiju Cryptid's Nightmare on Monster Island last year, at one point I mentioned about Bandai reintroducing the GMK Godzilla, even if it is just a 6-inch replica of the 8-inch version from 2001, and shortly after I made that video, Bandai announced this figure. And in case any of you are wondering, if I had him at the time, yes, I would have used him for when Goji Kruger evolved into his gigantic form. This model is very easy to come by on eBay, and I think you may find him on Amazon too. as he's a regular release and very recommendable, especially if you're a fan of Godzilla, Mothra and King Ghidorah, giant bosses all out attack, like I am. This is Dragonzilla 1991 signing out. Take care, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.